has no friends and doesn't receive guests. Lovia glanced at the simple, even shabby house. This is the residence of the so-called strongest adventurer. The house itself doesn't matter. The key is the people living here, Aesop said, pursing his lips. Lovia could only swallow her anger because Andre was present. But since Aesop was brought by Perseus, she blamed him. Perseus understood her thoughts through her eyes and was so angry he wanted to laugh. Upon arrival, Andre ignored everyone else and began to observe and explore intently, trying to discover anything unusual. But he wandered around the house more than once and still couldn't find anything. The house was very ordinary, just like all the other houses in the area. Apart from being exceptionally clean, it had no special features. If Aesop hadn't brought them here, they would never have imagined that the famous White Flame would live here. After searching for a long time without finding anything, Andre looked at Perseus with resentment. Did you find anything? Perseus shook his head. This time, surprisingly, he didn't lie. While Andre was certainly curious about Bai Yin, nothing could compare to the intensity of his desire to find out more about Bai Yin. After all, Ivaisa was his woman, not Andre's. While Andre was actively exploring, he was also frantically searching, so much so that he couldn't even appreciate or bother Lovia anymore. However, the result was exactly the same as Andre's. Lovia saw the undisguised disappointment in Andre's eyes. Since we can't find any clues outside the house, let's go inside and look. Before Andre and Perseus could react, Aesop and Alice exploded. What? Alice shrieked. You actually dare to trespass in a Lord Bai Yan's house. I think you have a death wish. You've gone too far. If you dare do this, I won't go crazy with you. When Lord Bai Yan returns, none of you will escape. Aesop was both shocked and furious. Lovia's face darkened. Aren't you going to do anything about them? Or are you just going to let them shout nonsense here? Gentlemen, please calm down, Perseus said. We haven't decided what to do yet. Perseus, you wouldn't agree to this, would you? Alice's eyes widened. That's wrong. Besides, Lord White Flame will definitely be unhappy if he finds out. You've witnessed Lord Bai Yan's methods firsthand, Aesop said, looking disdainful of further words. Lovia simply looked at Andre. If Andre felt it was okay to go in, she wouldn't care what the others were saying. Perseus was also looking at Andre. He already had a plan in mind. No matter what Andre decided, it wouldn't affect the final outcome. That is, no one is allowed to trespass into Bai Yan's house. After all, he was someone who looked almost exactly like Ivaisa. Although he had no relationship with Bai Yan, he would never tolerate anyone messing around with Bai Yan who had such a face. We can't just go in, Andre said decisively. Bai Yan is a very formidable character, and I don't want to push him to the opposite side because of such a foolish move. Perseus nodded to himself. This crown prince was quite wise most of the time. No wonder the Dog Emperor loved him so much. So what should we do next? Lovia asked. I will stay here and wait for him to come back, Andre said. Perseus, go back and tell my uncle to buy me some food when he comes back. Okay, Andy. Perseus smiled. Lovia knew that she couldn't change Andre's decision. So even though she felt it was foolish, she would stay here with Andre. Make 2 chairs before you leave, great magician. Lovia looked at Perseus, then froze, her face turning from gloomy to extremely dark. What are you doing here? She looked behind Perseus. Everyone looked over. White flames. Lord White Flame. Then froze, her face turning from gloomy to extremely dark. What are you doing here? She looked behind Perseus. Everyone looked over. White flames. Lord White Flame. Alice shouted excitedly. Aesop grinned and slipped behind Andre. Lovia paid no attention to her little actions, her expression strange. She thought the person who came was Ivaisa, which is why she said that, but these people called her Bai Yan. But that was clearly Ivaisa's face. She looked at Perseus, then at Andre. Perseus stared at the white flames, expressionless. This deep and solemn demeanor was quite a novelty to her. However, the fact that he didn't rush over with a smile on his face meant that he knew that the person was not Ivaisa. It is a white flame. Expressionless. This deep and solemn demeanor was quite a novelty to her. However, the fact that he didn't rush over with a smile on his face meant that he knew that the person was not Ivaisa. It is a white flame. To her surprise, Andre had a complicated expression. His hands were clenched tightly, and his lips trembled slightly. White flames. Lovia murmured, for the first time taking that name to heart. Chapter 193, A Frenzied Test. What are you doing here? Bai Yan asked. He looked at Perseus as if he saw only Perseus among all the people there. Both Andre Lovia and ISO Alice were ruthlessly ignored, an unprecedented treatment for them. Perseus's smile gradually appeared. I just haven't seen you in a long time and wanted to come see you. I hope that won't bother you, Miss White Flame. Alice couldn't help but lean close to Perseus's ear and whisper a reminder. Hey, it should be Mr. White Flame. Perseus knew perfectly well what he was saying. It was just a simple and effective test. For most people, they can be insensitive to everything except gender. Some people get angry when their gender is misunderstood, while others will seriously try to explain. Regardless of the reaction, it indicates that the misunderstanding is valid. But Bayan didn't care about this at all, nor did she pursue the fact that Perseus was deliberately putting on an act as if the two of them were very familiar, and just walked over silently. People instinctively made way for them. Perseus did not move aside, blocking the only way for Bayan to enter the house. Bayan stopped in front of him. Since you're here, come in and have a seat. It's an honor, Perseus said with a beaming smile. Aesop and Alice looked on with disbelief, especially Alice, whose eyes even welled up with tears. These were tears with an extremely complex flavor, but Perseus had no interest in tasting them. Perseus glanced at the others. I have some friends here that they can't go in, Bayan said without even looking. Is there anything inconvenient? No, it's just that I don't like them. Everyone was stunned by what he said, including Perseus. Let him in, but not others. The reason being that he doesn't like others. Doesn't that mean he likes him? Although Bayan is very beautiful, her gender is currently unknown. Being liked by such a person makes him feel extremely complicated. Andy, Sister Lucia, Aesop, Alice, why don't you go back to the Earl's mansion first? I'll look for you as soon as I get back, Perseus said with a smile. No need, I'll wait here. Andre's eyes were fixed on the White Flame. Lovia didn't speak, but it was clear that she was wherever Andre was. Aesop originally wanted to leave, but seeing that Andre wanted to stay, and Lovia also wanted to stay, and since she was now very interested in Andre, she certainly wouldn't give Lovia, her rival, a chance to be alone with Andre. Alice was distraught and could only wipe away her tears. Aesop sighed and held up 3 fingers to Perseus. 3 chairs, thank you. Why are there 3 and not 4? Alice asked, wiping away her tears. Because I want you to sit on my lap. Aesop smiled wickedly. Alice blushed. Perseus couldn't stand it anymore. Fearing that the 2 women might actually get together and ruin his plans, he quickly made 4 chairs to prevent them from sparking a romance. Then, he followed Bayan into the house. Bayan's residence is undoubtedly a mysterious area that many people yearn to understand, and for diehard fans like Alice, is a sacred place. Perseus was probably the only guest fortunate enough to be invited inside, but looking around, his assessment of the place could be summed up in one word. White. How bare is it? It's roughly equivalent to having multiple layers of paint on the walls of a bare-bones apartment, which is obviously something that comes with the apartment when you buy it. These pieces of furniture are also included. Although they were clean, they showed no signs of use whatsoever, just like decorations. Perseus didn't care about that. He originally only wanted to investigate Bayan's background. No matter what the situation was in Bayan's family, it would reveal something, and that was what he really cared about. However, there wasn't much to see in the living room. To find clues, one had to explore other areas. Having finally gained entry, Perseus decided to take the plunge and asked, could you take me to your room? If it were later confirmed that Bayan was a man, he would beat himself half to death. Sure, Bayan readily agreed. Perseus was pleased that he was so agreeable and followed him into his room. An empty room. There wasn't even the simplest wooden bed. Where do you sleep at night? Perseus asked. So, Bayan laid down out of thin air right in front of him. At least Xylon needed a rope, but this guy didn't even bother with a rope. Perseus could do that too, but if he dared to do it at night, he would still end up with his butt split in 8 pieces when he fell asleep. It seems that Bayan's strength is indeed above his. Where's your wardrobe? Perseus asked again. Men may not be as particular about their clothes as women, but at least they have 2 sets of clothes to change into, right? No need for a wardrobe, Bayan said. You don't always wear the same outfit, do you? Perseus asked. Anyway, I know magic. That's true, but don't you think wearing the same outfit all the time is a bit monotonous? What do you want me to wear? Perseus fell silent for a moment. He so wished Ivisa could be so sensible and ask him the same question. He would be so happy. He's quite the expert when it comes to clothing. He could design stunning outfits that will maximally arouse his lust. In fact, he had already gotten Winnie a very revealing cow print outfit. He was only excited at the beginning, and afterwards felt that the cow print outfit was just an initial skin for Winnie the Pooh, and there was nothing to appreciate about it. It would be really interesting if Ivisa were willing to wear it. What do you want me to wear? Bayan asked again. Perseus closed the doors and windows and drew the curtains. He was really going all out today. He had to figure one thing out no matter what. Take off your clothes first. Then I'll check your body proportions and recommend the most suitable clothes for you, Perseus said with a serious expression. If you said that to a little girl, she would deserve to be shot for 2 hours straight. Bayan actually made a move. Chapter 194, The Desire to Confess. Outside, the 4 people who were not invited inside could only watch anxiously as what was happening to the 2 people inside waited for Perseus to bring back the results. Andy, are you hungry? Shall I go buy something to eat? Aesop carried a chair to Andre's side, leaned in, and asked with a grin. Andre, who was quietly thinking, was taken aback and looked at Aesop with a mixture of annoyance and helplessness. On the way here, he had already experienced firsthand how torturous this girl was, and knew that putting on a cold expression wouldn't scare her away. He never liked to do things in vain, so he had to change his strategy. No need, thank you. Andre's voice was indifferent. Oh, then you must tell me if you get hungry, okay? Don't be shy. Perseus and I are good friends, and you're his cousin. So you're my cousin too? Aesop's eyes darted around. Can I just call you cousin from now on? Andre frowned slightly. No. Andy, you're so aloof, Aesop sighed. You're so handsome. You must have a lot of girls who like you, right? But if you keep acting so cold, you'll scare them all away, won't you? Andre usually couldn't be bothered to listen to such nonsensical talk, but upon further reflection, he found it to have some merit. He genuinely dislikes dealing with women he's not interested in. No matter how attentive others are, he has no interest in even a perfunctory response, always maintaining a cold and aloof demeanor. This might certainly keep him away from the girl's harassment, but at the same time, isn't it also blocking out something he doesn't want to block out, without him even realizing it? For example, what were Ivisa's inexplicable feelings for him? Thinking of this, Andre instantly broke out in a cold sweat, filled with countless regrets and sorrows. If there were ever a moment when Ivisa wanted to come over and say something to him, but was scared away by his indifferent appearance, he wouldn't mind strangling himself to death. Andre's pupils contracted slightly, and his body trembled uncontrollably, leaving Aesop completely bewildered. She didn't understand why her casual, teasing remark had such a strong impact on Andre, and for a moment she didn't know what to do. Lovia, who was quite a distance away from them, tried her best to appear aloof and indifferent, but she already hated Aesop to the core. She hated Perseus more than Aesop. If it weren't for Perseus, someone of Aesop's social standing would never have had the chance to meet Andre, and therefore wouldn't have been able to harass her beloved so brazenly. Moreover, the various overt and covert collaborations between the two might fool Andre, an insider, but they definitely couldn't fool her. Perseus clearly wanted to bring Andre and Aesop together. This was something she absolutely could not tolerate, but there was nothing she could do about it. Perseus was the emperor's appointed matchmaker, and it was perfectly legal and legitimate for him to arrange for any girl to be with Andre. In fact, he had the ability and power to do so. Lovia was starting to admire Perseus. I don't know where this guy found this girl. She's incredibly shameless, has a bold and outspoken personality, and is clearly very interested in Andre. Except for the last point, the first two are things she does not possess and will never possess in the future. None of the noble ladies Andre usually encountered were as helpless and embarrassed as this girl, even though he was the crown prince. That high, icy wall that had driven her to despair seemed to have no effect on the girl at all. Now, Lovia sees Andre's wavering as it changed his attitude towards Aesop that she absolutely did not want to see. In her eyes, Aesop became a rat engulfed in flames, lowly and insignificant, yet passionate and persistent, desperately trying to burrow through Andre's icy walls and steal what rightfully belonged to her. Damn mother rat. Even more damn Perseus. Lovia's eyes flashed with a cold light. Given her status, it would be beneath her to directly attack Aesop. She needed to quickly eliminate the guy standing behind Aesop. Lovia closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe steadily, and waited for Perseus to come out of the house. Tonight, she's going to make that rat disappear completely from Andre's world. Aesop was unaware of Lovia's thoughts, but even if he had, he wouldn't have cared. She has always been a confident and cheerful girl. Being cheerful means that she can maintain a good mood no matter when, where, or what she faces. Confidence means that no matter who she is facing, even if it is a noble